Of course, the two of us have to be very careful because we don't want this to be, a 3-hour long podcast.
It could be, why not?
I mean...
I've got the glass of wine, I'm good to go.
Oh my goodness.
Settle in. Okay, right.
Hello, Amanda. Wait, sorry.
Seriously.
We need to recenter, refocus.
And I remember thinking, that's it. I want to do that. And I nagged like I still do in life. And I remember coming back from brownies on a Friday night, and there was a harp. It was a lever harp sat there waiting for me. And then my parents found me a teacher, and that was it. That's all I ever wanted to do, and that's all I've ever done. Just make sure when you are practicing, you are present and understanding what you're doing. So if you're doing a scale, are you just doing a scale? And well done me for sitting here doing a scale. Or am I trying to improve the sound? Am I trying to improve my arm position? Give everything you do an intention.
Welcome to the How to Harp podcast, where your harp, your journey are always front and centre. I'm Heather Downie, harpist and founder of How to Harp, your online space for expert guidance and endless inspiration. Each week, we are here to empower, inspire and encourage you, whether you're just beginning or many years into your harp adventure. From chats with world-class professionals to real stories from everyday harpists, to practical tips you can use right away. This podcast is all about helping you feel happy, confident, and fulfilled with your harp. This is episode 14 of the How to Harp podcast, and I'm joined by Welsh harpist Amanda Whiting, a classically trained player who's carved out a brilliant path in contemporary and jazz settings, including headlining at Ronnie Scott's. In our chat, we dig into the spark that started her harp journey, how pop, soul and hip hop lived alongside etudes when she was growing up, and how going back to fundamentals plus drum lessons transformed her rhythm and improvisation. We also talk about writing, arranging and recording, keeping background gigs creatively alive, balancing family and a busy musical life, and the mindset shifts that make practice feel joyful. You'll hear 2 short musical clips along the way, and we'll finish with a wee preview of Amanda's jazzy Christmas concert and her workshop in the How to Harp membership. Enjoy! Hello Amanda, and welcome to the How to Harp podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm honestly absolutely honoured to be here with you because I love all of your work.
Love your work too. And we're going to get to hear all about it today, which is really exciting. But I want you to take us right back to the start, right back to your childhood and where it all began and how you actually got into harping.
Well, I was 5 and I remember seeing the harp on the telly at the Eisteddfods because it's our national instrument in Wales, like it is in Scotland and Ireland. And the Eisteddfods, which are our festivals, there's always a harp with the singers and the dancers. And it was just, it's part of our, you see it on the telly. But there was one moment I remember watching Harp Marks, and it was black and white. It was a black and white film. It was on a Saturday, when we were off school. And I remember watching it. It was Saturday afternoon. I remember sitting there watching this clown playing a big, ornate harp. And I remember there being sort of ornate picture frames, and he was just having fun. But then he sat behind this harp, and you could tell it was gold, even though it was black and white, right? And I remember thinking, that's it. I want to do that. And I nagged like I still do in life. And I remember coming back from brownies on a Friday night, and there was a harp. It was a lever harp sat there waiting for me. And then my parents found me a teacher. And that was it. That's all I ever wanted to do, and that's all I've ever done.
Wow, that's amazing. How lucky for you to come home one day and there was a lever harp. Do you remember what make the lever harp was?
Oh, I can't remember the first one, but then I remember my dad had bought a kit. I think it was a John Thomas kit. And he'd spent hours and hours painting it and varnishing it and putting intricate detail on it and making a big stool, which wasn't very comfortable, to sit on. And it was just, everything was about the harp in my house because I was the first person to play anything in my family. So it was all about the harp. And then I had a Pilgrim Progress. And then I had a Salvi orchestra in black, shiny black. And I remember that so distinctly. But that first harp, I don't remember the make, but I loved it. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Oh, amazing. And you said you got a teacher then for a very young age. Who was your teacher? And can you tell us about her influences?
Gillian Green. She was very glamorous. I always remember her sound of her high heels coming down the path. And she used to go to spas, and I remember thinking, I want to be like her. She had the first mobile phone. I remember it was like a brick. and she just was everything. Was like, who is this woman, goddess, who came to teach me every week? She was very strict. Don't get me wrong. I was scared of her. But it was this. It wasn't just harp. It wasn't just a harp teacher. It was something else. It was glamour. And I remember then thinking, this is amazing. It's like she was kind of like my first icon in a way,
Wow, that's so lovely. Isn't it a shame that harp teaching and playing is not like that?
Oh, it is. It is. Just pretend.
You go to spas all the time, yeah?
Yeah, we just pretend in my house with a face mask. It's all good.
Amazing. Okay, so harp, it was all about harp in your household from a very young age. But what was going on in the whole environment in your household? What were you listening to? What music was happening? Even before you were aware of it, like maybe even your family's tastes and music that was actually infiltrating without you realising?
Well, my dad liked tech. And I remember we had tape to tape, and he'd bought the first, the VHS videos, and it was all tech. And we had vinyl as well, but I do remember him selling it all in a boot sale. And I would have had all the original Beatles and things if he hadn't. I remember it very clearly. But Grease, I loved Grease, and I remember dancing, putting the vinyl of Grease on and just dancing like a loon, just for hours. So music was Phil Collins, Tina Turner. There was always music on, and of course the top 40 on a Sunday night. But I think most clearly I was in love with Michael Jackson from a young age. And my walls were covered in Michael Jackson pictures. And also I used to be constantly with my finger on record, pause and play, ready for any time Michael Jackson came on the radio or on a video. I would just take snippets of Michael Jackson songs and just danced and sang, and I can still remember all the words, So Michael Jackson.
I mean, that's a great choice. We've actually, our little dog's called Quincy after Quincy Jones.
Oh,
amazing producer, right? And unfortunately,
that's my favourite album. Off the Wall album.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
There's so many influence you can take from that. But so you were listening to all this modern, like really modern, actually, really groundbreaking pop material.
Yeah.
But on your harp, were you playing classical music?
Yeah, of course. Classical, Grossi, La Riviere, the hardcore studies, which when you're that age is really boring. And working through the grades, the old school way of going through everything meticulously and everyday practice. And so I really wasn't lined up with what I was listening to at all. And my early teen years, I was very much into hip hop and De La Soul. And all of that kind of thing. I had the tracksuit and the wallabies on and my hair slicked back, and I thought I was really cool because I had an older sister. So that was what I listened to, but what I played was completely at odds with what I listened to. And I think that for me has been something, lining those two up in my life has been a big challenge. And I've eventually in my soul got there, I think.
Yeah, amazing. And we're definitely going to hear more about that later on in this interview. But before we move on to that, do you have a moment in your studies that you decided this is going to be more than a hobby for me. This is something that I actually want to, study more formally and take more seriously and move on to a career. Was there a particular moment that happened for you?
When I was 6, that was it. That was what I was going to do. There was a point where I didn't want to do it. I remember my first year of studying, I wanted to become an engineer because I was doing maths and on extra credits and things. I loved maths. So there was a moment I thought of changing to engineering. But other than that, no, it's never been a doubt of I was always going to be a harpist from the age of 6.
That's amazing. That's amazing to have
really?
that.
I don't know anything different.
I'm definitely different. So I still sometimes think, I could just, become a train driver. They get paid whilst they're training and, easy, like show up at this time, your work's finished at this time.
How boring.
Yeah, but then you
don't want that. You don't know.
Well, I've not actually done it yet, so.
No, you'd be rubbish at that.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe train driving's my calling.
Oh, it might be, unless you try it.
Well, yeah. True. Okay, I think now is a perfect time to listen to some of your wonderful music. So we're going to listen to one of the clips that you have shared with us. And after this, you can tell us all about this piece and why it's important to you.
That reminds me so much of lockdown and COVID videos and entertaining oneself.
Yes.
And
just I love the top hat on the harp in the background.
Well, do you know what? In jazz, to wear a pork pie hat is kind of a little bit of a don thing. So it's not on my head, it's on my harp because I haven't got the guts to put it on my head yet.
Well, you get there though, right?
It's there, sat there. It's like it's something to aspire to.
I think you'd suit it a lot. Anyway, can you tell us about the piece and why you shared that clip?
It was Lauryn Hill, and I used to love Lauryn Hill and the Fugees, and that Lauryn Hill always takes me back to when I was 18, and I had applied to go and work on a summer camp in America. I applied as a harpist and they accepted me as a pianist, and I don't really play the piano very well, and I kind of got sacked from the job and sent home. But I just remember it reminded me of the Catskill Mountains in America, and listening to it then I realised how many things are in that video. It's funny, isn't it, when you watch back? Kind of a little bit more of an ownership of rhythm. I'd always struggled with rhythm, and I think our instrument has a slight problem with that for us because we can be quite rubato, quite liberal with it. We can move our arms. We can be free because we're on our own. And that was one of the biggest problems I found when doing jazz. How the rhythm, my rhythm in particular, was so loose. And that was the point of when I had drum lessons for a few years, and it changed my rhythm. So watching that then, I'm still thinking, that could be better. But that was an improvement on what it was.
Amazing.
And the harmonies. I mean, Lauryn Hill, I love Lauryn Hill. It was hip hop. And that's been the journey to the record label I'm on now, how I've fallen into this record label unwittingly, because that's what I used to listen to when I was younger. And this label found me, and they're a hip hop label. It's like, how did that happen?
That's amazing.
Life's a funny journey, right?
It sure is. And so we're going to talk about your harp journey because we weren't listening to classical music there.
No. But I couldn't have done that without having played all my classical music, though. And I mean, that's the big thing, I think. People think when they hear you playing something modern or sort of jazzy or poppy, I think they think it's light music and the work hasn't gone in. But without all of the Grossi and the La Riviere and all of the hours of classical practice, I couldn't own my strings or get around my instrument and enter the new door of a new language. I mean, it's just notes in a different order, right? But I've just found that modern music and jazz music is actually tighter on the restraints on you. You know, you can't be sloppy on your rhythm. You can't be sloppy, you know, if you have to regurgitate something exactly as it was, or you have to reharmonize something. There's a lot more that goes into it that people know about, which surprised me as well.
Oh, amazing. And can you tell us about how this happened? Like, most people I think will know you as someone who plays jazz music, as a jazz harpist. Of course, you play all sorts of music and we love that, but I think most people know you as a modern, you know, if you've got your jazz books, etc., etc. When did you happen? I suppose it's not a change, because of course you can still play all that classical music.
Yeah.
But when did that interest come into your playing, I suppose? And when did you start incorporating those elements into your playing?
Well, it'd always been classical, always classical. But then I did live music now and Lost Chord for about 20 years. I did that. And the woman I worked with, she was an opera singer. But when we weren't performing, we'd be in the car singing along to Harry Connick and all of this and listening to anything but. But also in the concerts, we tried to play jazzy style songs, you know, try and swing, but it was a little bit like kind of a classical person trying to swing, putting the emphasis on the 1 and 3 instead of the 2 and 4. So it was a bit kind of stilted. And that was always happening. So everything wasn't lined up within me. I was listening to one thing, playing another, trying to play another. So the classical studies, even now, I still practice my classical studies every day. They're a huge part of the core of keeping a tight technique, you know. So that was happening. And then my husband started coming home in about 2008. He came home before that as well, but he was coming home from guitar classes. And he was learning jazz guitar, and he kept coming home saying about modes, and I was like, you know, I didn't understand what he was talking about, was the truth. And he was annoying me, and he was going to these jam groups, and then people would start coming to our house on a Monday night. They still come here and jam, and they're like, join in, man, join in. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I didn't know how to, is the actual truth of it. And it got to the point where I was just so annoyed at him for asking me all these things and I didn't know the answer. And I'm thinking, I've got a classical degree and I can't answer simple questions about modes. So I phoned the college and said, is there anyone who I could have a private lesson with? I didn't realise how many lessons I needed. But and they said, well, why don't you embark on the masters, the jazz masters? I'd been having lessons with Park Stickney as well. I had lessons with him for years. So the jazz masters, I auditioned with Foray Impromptu and Kylie Minogue, as you do. So put my background music chops in there, and Foray. And I remember the woman who interviewed me, she closed the Foray and put it on the desk and sat back and just listened. And I was so annoyed at her for that. Because you think of competitions that we do as harpists, the music is out and it's being scrutinised and notes are being written, and she closed the book and just listened. And that put me off more than anything. And I remember the first lesson with her, she said, right, what can you play with one finger? And I was just like, I can play a lot with 8 fingers, thank you, you know. 1 finger? I was really annoyed because she kind of disabled me. What can you get with 1 finger? What can you improvise with one? Improvise? No, don't like that. And then I remember in the break, all of the group, there was about 10 of us, we were just having a jam. And I thought, I don't know what you're doing and I can't join in. And I felt excluded from this group. And I remember the first day I drove home. I was an adult. I was 35. I drove home crying all the way home thinking, I can't do this. This is such a knock to my ego. And ego is a big thing in the world of music, isn't it? I thought, I can't do it. I sound awful. I'm looking awful, and cried like a little piggy all the way home. But I stuck with it. It was the hardest thing I did because threw away the music. And for classical musicians, we're paper trained. And I had to go back to the roots of music and how does music work? What's the theory? Almost like going into the gubbins of a computer, the coding. How does this all fit together? My rhythm was appalling. So I had to have drum lessons every week. And eventually I did my grade 5. That's why I got a drum kit in the background here. I was 9 months pregnant at the time I did my grade 5. I don't know how I passed that. But it was the best thing I ever did because it made me realise where I was in the land of musicians and what it takes to be a musician in a band, how you fit in, what's needed of you as a musician. If you go into a studio, what's your skill set? Do you know how to work out a gliss? Do you know how to add something and improvise? And what's the benefits of improvising? Well, they're really big, They can help you get out of trouble as a classical musician. They can help you have a conversation in a group. And if we're not in a group chatting and conversing, and we're just sat in a room all the time on our own, what's the point? This is social. Music is a beautiful thing to chat to people with. And it was on that course I started writing the books. And that was an important thing because I realised they're just notes in a different order. And if you think about someone like Bach or any composer, the first thing they did was improvise to write that piece of music and then share it to us and we regurgitate it back, isn't it? In a style which should be in their style. So I just thought if I can write some books that are simple and give you an area to express yourself, it might just kind of have a liberation movement was my master plan. So that was the journey of that. And then eventually I started writing my own music for band and albums. After going on tour with different people and going, maybe I'll have a go at this. Maybe this is possible. I've written it in books for harpists to play. So what's the difference in writing it for my own band and for me to play? So that happened after playing with different bands and seeing kind of the behind the scenes of how the music works. And, you set that groove down and then you write some chords and then you write a tune. Okay, I'll give that a go. And so that's where that all started.
It's amazing. It's so great to hear the journey. Now we're going to play another piece of music, and I'm not a jazzer, but I understand that playing in this venue is a really big deal for jazz musicians. So first of all, I'll say congratulations before we listen to the piece.
Thank you.
And then you can tell us all about what the experience was like playing this in venue and why it's so important.
Okay.
Congratulations.
That was I don't know about you, Heather, but you go through life and you have bucket list moments of things you want to achieve. And when I was younger, it was working on a cruise ship and going to music school. That was the other one I wanted to do. And then you have a new set when you've achieved those and you constantly strive for big things. You think, might never happen. It's okay, but I'm going to just dream. I've got to have some dreams. And after starting on the jazz journey, Ronnie Scott's which is in London, which you see on the BBC Three, Ella Fitzgerald sang there and Duke Ellington played there and all these amazing musicians. And it's quite special. The colour in there is quite special and the pictures on the walls are special. And I played there twice before that with other people. And I remember being in the dressing rooms, just looking around, thinking, gosh, the people who sat in this dressing room and walking up the corridor into the room and opening the door and all these red lights, it's really iconic. And then I had an email saying, would you like to come and play here with your group? And it was just like, that's it. I made it. I'm ready to retire. Everything is done.
But you didn't retire.
Honestly, well, I kind of did. That happened in May, June. And then I had all of summer off because I thought my work is done here. But then I'm like, oh, what do I do now? It's funny when you get to somewhere that you've thought about and envisioned so long, and you're like, when you get there, it's like, where do I go now? What's the next master plan? So I worked really hard for that, and it was so lovely to sit there and hear my music in this iconic venue and see my name on the door. And that sounds really egotistical, but it was kind of just a moment of thank you, gratitude.
Of course, it's amazing, and you should rest in that. And I don't think we take enough time to actually. You're right, you do complete a goal and then you're on to the next goal, don't you? But like taking that little time to just sit and be like, no, I did this and it's awesome. I think that's
the gratitude, isn't it? And I think it's very easy just to plough through life, one goal after the other, and not just stop. So, I took all of the summer off. I played a few little things, but it was a real thing of like, wow, I really need to take this in and understand the gravitas of this, because it's been years and years of battling myself, battling my playing, battling to get where I wanted to be kind of validated. I don't have to scream loudly anymore. I've done what I needed to do for my soul, and now it's just like, let's just chill in life. So it was a moment of, on many levels, of just gratitude, I think.
It's awesome. Okay, so I know we want you to rest in the gratitude, but we also want to know what you're up to. So do you have any projects on the go, or anything you're thinking about doing or sharing, like anything we can get our teeth stuck into?
Well, there's lots of things in the pipeline at the moment. Hopefully linking over to the east. I had a whole 2 days with my producer the last 2 days, just looking at writing the next thing. I've got some singles coming out with different people. But I think I've realised you write and write and write, and you perform and perform and perform. And what happens is you then become kind of low on things. So I've realised you have to take some time out to kind of put the coins back in the slot in order to get stuff out. It doesn't just keep coming out. So listening to lots of music, playing lots of music, collaborating with people. I've just done a harp duet with Cindy Horseman in America. And just written a Halloween piece as a harp solo. And that was weird. I woke up one morning and thought, I need to write a Halloween piece today. Never done that before. I wrote it that morning. It's like, that needed just to come out, right? And I've never been one of these kind of arty-farty creators of it'll happen when it happens. But it's getting a little bit more like that. So I am finding I need to listen to lots of music and give time for things to brew before kind of just rather than sitting there. But my producer was saying yesterday, you need to write lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. And I was thinking, I don't think I work like that, really. I think I like to write something and hone it. So it'll take over a year for me to write an album, because I find some chords, I then put it into the iReal Pro, and I find different drum grooves, and then I change the chords, and I really just work on it every day until it's ready, rather than volume. So I've realised that's my process. And even now, after all these years, I'm only starting to find my process and how I do things. And I'm sure that's going to evolve and change, but we're all very different in that. You probably find that when you're writing, you have a method, and it evolves and it changes. And sometimes it's really quick. A song might come out straight away, and then it's like, oh, no, nothing for a few months. There's nothing in there. I need to listen to some more music and get some more ideas put in my brain. So that I'm at that stage of, I'm brewing.
Nice. Okay, well, whilst we wait for the perfect brew, we're going to share your Instagram handle, because that's where everyone can find out about what you are doing and what you are brewing. And when things are ready to be shared, they can find you there. So Amanda Whiting Harp is where everyone can find out what you're up to, right?
Yeah, I'm always on there. I do little stories about life and my shoes and things which are nothing important, but are pleasing me that day, It might be the greenery. You live in Scotland, I live in Wales. We have beautiful countryside, and it's very calming, and I really appreciate all of that.
Yeah. It's for the creative process, that's it for me, is the outside, the outdoors,
Yes.
and writing. Yeah, writing about nature and writing about like being outside in the sky. The night sky totally fascinates me, like the stars and nebulas and all these sorts of things that make my brain go like, I can't actually comprehend what these things are.
Yeah.
That's what makes me want to write.
Oh, how interesting. I see, I love that. That's the good stuff. That's like what makes you tick, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really interesting how
Yeah.
everyone's different. Okay, so you mentioned a little bit there about taking time out, etc., for yourself. One of the things that obviously our audience are harpists, and a lot of them are learner harpists. And something that comes up quite often is finding the time to harp when they have a full-time job and they have a family and they have, everything else going on. Now, you're a very, very busy harpist, but we also have a family and a son. And so I'm wondering if you can give some advice. How do you find that time to make sure you have the creative space for your harping alongside juggling all those other hats?
I have a very good husband. He's amazing. He holds it all together. Like I was working last night, so I can go out the door and know that the school bag will be ready for the next day. My son is fed and he's washed and in bed, and we'll be up this morning with a breakfast made for him when I'm kind of can hardly get out of bed because I'm tired. I know he's done all that, so I have that faith. I don't know how single parents would do that, because it's you've got to be organised, I think, and luckily my husband is. But yeah, he holds it all together. If I'm away on tour or anything, I know that, or I try and involve them or get them to come out and meet me. But it's always a juggling act, and I think the early days I had a real battle with myself over that. I remember getting some therapy for that, actually, of the guilt of being in the harp room, because I had a concert 2 weeks after giving birth. I didn't have any maternity off. And my mum was helping me, and it was that guilt of I should be with him, yet I need to practice for a recital. And it's like, this constant battle with yourself. I should be practicing, I should be with the baby, I should be practicing. So you have to kind of allocate and be present in which either one you're doing. I found that was very important. If I'm practicing, I need to be present practicing. If I'm with my son, I need to be with him, full on present. So, and people go to work, I think that guilt of, I'm working and I should be with him was a big thing. So I think you need to allow yourself to say, well, I need to work. That's okay. And also it's good for him to see a strong woman working and balancing and doing both. And he's fantastic. He comes to my concerts and he sells merch for me at a gig. He's really good. They love kids selling merch. Yeah. He's really good, interactive, and he plays jazz flute, so I go to his concerts and we can have great conversations about that, and practicing, no problems with practice because he sees me practicing, so he knows that's what goes into it. So it's easier now because he's 11, but the initial years, it's that battle of guilt, which you have to work with and find a way through. But yeah, I think they're very malleable and they understand, if they're used to you going out the door and coming home, not leaving them, they get used to that. They know I'll be back, should be back later, and spend quality time with me. So it's worked out okay. And a good husband. Yeah. I must not forget. That's the most important.
Nice. Take notes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You've got one.
Thanks for that advice. Okay, so this point, I ask everybody this, and it's not the nicest question to ask, but it's useful for learners and people who are aspiring to become, like, there's a lot of people out there who want to play, even if it's playing, for their family or in a nursing home. Like, these are big deals, sharing your music with people. But that journey to get to that point. So we like to ask all our professional harpists about the lows and the highs of their careers. And we're going to start with the low so that we can move to the high and finish in a happy place. So I'm wondering if you can tell us about a low point in your career or something low that happened in your career, but also how you got over that.
I suppose it's how you frame everything, isn't it? So an example, I was doing some background music last night, and I think I'd got to the point before doing my jazz course of being fed up of my background music, sitting whilst people had their breakfast, no one's listening. And people coming up to you saying, "Oh, sorry, no one's listening to you," and you're like, "Thanks for that." Just that real. And I think I'd got to the point where I was just going through the motions. My soul I'd done too much of it, earning a living and needs must and all that. And it was just a real, I felt just in the, people telling me, "Oh, sorry, no one's listening to you." And I think that was a moment of, what am I doing? What, and now I did background music last night, and it was like, this is great. I can sit here and play wherever I like, and I can sit and improvise. So I think the thing that helped me get past the feeling like, was, well, it's up to me to make this interesting. And I say this to my pupils. Background music is a gift of a job. Not many people get to go to a nice hotel, sometimes get fed, play for 2-3 hours, get paid, dress up nicely, and wear nice shoes. I mean, there's not many jobs you get that in. So I sat there last night and I was playing and I was practicing. I found a piece, I was just playing lots of jazz and improvising. I also did lots of classical as well. And I sat there and I played a chord. I thought, I listened to that. Oh, that's so nice. I'm going to put this into 5 now. Let's see how it sounds in 5. And started challenging myself more. And I'd come away on a real buzz of, that sounded really good. I really enjoyed that. So last night, I played extra last night and had a lovely time. And I came home thinking, I feel like I've just, been to a bit of a party with myself. So it's how I frame it. It's how you frame it. Teaching, you get to a point before, it was kind of like, no one's listening or no one's practicing. I've now got a child. So if I was to go back into a school now and had my year 7s come in and they're late or not turned up, I would go, it's because they don't know how to find me, or they haven't had time to practice because they're overwhelmed with life of starting a new school. And, it's new eyes. So I think along the journey, you change as a person due to your experiences. So if you're bored in something, just reframe it or change it or do something different. It's up to you to do that, because at the end of the day, what we're doing is actually a really privileged and entitled job, which is a luxurious job. Background music, really. I mean, not many people get to do that job. So just reframe it, change your mindset.
Nice. That is such good advice. Really, really great. And now we get to hear the high of your career. What's been the highlight?
I think liberating. I think when I love teaching, I really do. And I think liberating people from their own parameters that they've put in place over practice and things, and then seeing them try something new, maybe improvising or making a sound, and they go, and you can see it. You just see it. It's like an epiphany moment of, I can do that. And I remember that feeling myself of the journey of improvising, and then where it led me to, of sitting in Ronnie Scott's thinking, all because I took that first step to improve my approach to music, of liberating myself from the page, freeing myself up of just following exactly what's there to the letter, and going, actually, who am I? What's my creative sense in here? What's my musicianship? Why am I doing this? Do I like this? Do I like the harp? Yeah, I do. I love the harp. That sound is beautiful. So it's only me who can make this great. And if you can liberate yourself, reset your mind into, this is great. I think that was the highlight of that journey, that moment of that happening and then what it led to, albums and books and travel and sitting on a stage and under my name, playing my music, looking around thinking, people are singing to my songs. That's, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What an honour.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. And talking about freeing people from the page and liberating your students, this leads us perfectly on to the fact that you are our special guest artist in the How to Harp membership for November. And we are so excited to have you. You're going to be giving us a special live concert. which is actually, we usually do this at the start of the month, but we're doing it at the end of November for a very special reason because of your concert content, which you can tell us about in a moment. So yeah, we'd love to hear about what we can expect from your concert, why it's at the end of November and not the start, and what we're going to be learning from you in our workshop.
Ooh, well, I love Christmas music. In fact, obsessed with Christmas music, especially Vince Guaraldi. And I remember watching Nigella Lawson cooking, and she had all the sparkly light. I don't cook, but I like watching her cook. And she'd have all this. Actually, I'm trying to educate my husband with it. Say, watch Nigella and then make that for me. So we were watching Nigella, and it was all sparkly lights. And the music, I remember thinking, you know, that lovely light Christmas jazz that you hear? Vince Guaraldi is who it was, the theme tune for Snoopy. And I remember watching it thinking, oh, I love that. And I've always listened to Ella's Swinging at Christmas and all of the jazz Christmas songs, or you know, besides the classics, but it was the jazz Christmas songs that have always grabbed me. And my record label, when they first found me, it was because of my Instagram posts that I used to put out at Christmas. I would always play Vince Guaraldi clips. And my record label boss is a Christmas nut as well. And he started following me from that. And it was last year, he said, do you want to make a Christmas album? I was like, yeah, I do. Yeah. So in the February after Christmas, I started practicing to make the album in the July. So I played Christmas music 6-8 hours a day from February to July, practicing. And it's Vince Guaraldi, and he's quite a difficult, some of it's quite difficult, very pedally. So I play lots of his music in other style, jazz, but not necessarily Christmas, just to try and get his language and his voice. I play lots of his music every day off transcriptions, ready for improvising. So I would at least be speaking in the same kind of style as him. So that was February to July. We recorded it in the July. Then we mixed it from July to October every day, mixing it. And then it came out in the December. So I had a whole year of Christmas music. So I love Christmas music. So this year I've had January to now off from the Christmas music. So I'm ready to get going on it. So the November concert will be some Vince Guaraldi, also some of my songs from my albums as well. But definitely lots of jazzy Christmas music.
Amazing. And our workshop, what are we learning in our workshop?
Well, it's whatever you want, really. I'm quite free. I think the fundamentals are really important when we learn jazz. I think the difficult things for classical or folk musicians to get into jazz are like, where do I start? That's always a good thing. And not starting with a difficult chord sequence or anything. Not starting with the blues, because that's not necessarily the easiest either. But maybe start with one chord. Because I think modes, especially for classical musicians, aren't really on our radar. But actually, once you enter the house of modes, you've got loads of different doors to go through of sounds. So, you know, just going through one door of the Dorian or something, it's minor. It's a different vibe. And so it's like, let's just take that one mode and the chord that goes with it, and let's just sit on that. Let's try a groove underneath it. And you go, actually, I sound quite cool. And I think that's one of the nice things for someone starting, how accessible it is. And then if you're up for that, try another one. And we had another one, and then we get into the blues, then we get into the standards, then we get to bebop if you're brave, and then we come back to modes. So it's kind of a cyclical thing, and you can stop anywhere along the line of where you're comfortable, really.
Perfect.
So we'll see how far along the train line we get with comfort.
That sounds great. I can't wait. And I want to be a train driver, so it's perfect.
The metaphors today. There we
are.
It's
a perfect circle.
I'm back to the beginning.
And we're going to finish off with the one question that we ask everyone. And that is, for our learner harpists out there, for those on their journey, for our professional harpists out there listening, what's the one piece of advice that you would give to the harpists out there?
Just turn up every day. Just turn up, even if it's 2 minutes, even if you're busy. And, you know, I know this from having a son learning an instrument. Even if you turn up and just do a little scale or something little every day. Just turn up for it every day. It gets you into the habit, but it also keeps you going and your fingers going and everything. But I wrote a book called Practice with Intention, and that was a big find for me. Intention. So why am I doing this? Firstly, why am I playing? It should be because you love it. If not, should you be doing it? That's a big question, because you've got a lot of time you need to commit to it. Any instrument needs time. So even if it's a little bit of time, just make sure when you are practicing, you are present and understanding what you're doing. So if you're doing a scale, are you just doing a scale? And well done me for sitting here doing a scale. Or am I trying to improve the sound? Am I trying to improve my arm position? Give everything you do an intention.
That's great. Brilliant advice. We're going to pull up your Instagram handle once more, Amanda, so that everyone knows exactly where they can find you. That is at Amanda Whiting Harp. And we are so looking forward to hearing from you and working with you in the membership. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you. Can't wait to see you all then. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Amanda. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much to Amanda for joining me for that wonderful chat. And I'm really excited to say that Amanda is one of our tutors alongside myself and Tamsin Dearnley next year at the How to Harp retreat in Stirling. So I'm so excited to be with her in 3D next year. Now, next week on the podcast, it is our tutor chat with Angela, another recorded while she was up here in Scotland with us last month. This time, we're diving into the world of Peterson tuners, those clever little gadgets that help keep our harps perfectly in tune. We'll be comparing the freestanding and the clip-on models, talking about harp-specific sweeteners and the metronome settings, and sharing our honest thoughts on whether they're worth the investment. It's one that you're not going to want to miss. Thanks for listening to this week's episode, and don't forget to like, follow and subscribe, leave us a comment, all the good podcast things. This really helps us to grow, and maybe even share with another friend who you think might enjoy this episode. And I'll look forward to being with you again soon.